Welcome to this webinar, and thank you for attending and for giving us the opportunity to talk to you about becoming a board member. We really appreciate it. My name is John Kanai, and I am a licensed community manager at First Community Management. I'll be presenting today with the help of my colleague, Rich Green. You can use the webinar tools at the left or top of your screen to ask questions, share feedback, or switch your audio to your phone audio throughout the presentation. You can ask questions by clicking the question mark icon, and we will review all questions at the end during the Q&A portion of the webinar. Please ask questions throughout the presentation via this webinar function. You can click the Switch to Telephone button in order to switch your audio from your computer to your phone. If your computer audio quality could use improvement, you may want to switch to your phone audio. And you can click on the emoji icon next to the question mark icon to provide feedback throughout the presentation. Please let us know how you feel about this presentation during the webinar. If you're using a desktop computer, the icons will be at the top. If you're using a tablet, these items should appear at the top as well, but if you're on a mobile device, they're on the left side of your screen. It is important to state that running your community association is a form of democracy. The topics that will be covered today include running your community association and the roles and responsibilities of being a board member, as well as how much time you may donate to the board on average, what it takes to be a board member, and the wrong reasons to run for the board. The help you will receive as a board member from the management company and other professionals the association may hire as needed. Our current board members' experiences, we are extremely pleased to be able to present the data we have collected from almost 140 different board members we surveyed. Is this the right time for you to join the board? And other ways to serve your association besides being a board member. Community associations are a mini democracy. A lot of people have experienced that they can make a bigger impact on their community at a local versus a state or federal level. Your association is a micro-local level, and each board member makes a big impact, hopefully positive, on their community. And that goes beyond just volunteering as a board member. As you will hear later in this presentation, there are several opportunities you as an owner have to help improve your community beyond serving on the board. One of the many wonderful aspects of community living is having the community work together to improve the association. Traits of successful volunteers include reliability. Owners need regular meetings held and decisions made. As a board member, you will need to regularly meet your obligations in order to ensure that association matters are properly and swiftly addressed. Being a problem solver, figuring out unique solutions that work best for your association can be a great contribution to the community. Interpersonal skills, or working well with others. The board is made up of multiple volunteers from the association, and the board runs best when the members work together without issues. The desire and ability to learn. This is new for most first-time board members. We can teach you what you need to know if you are willing to learn. A collaborative mindset. The board functions best when it works as a team with a common goal. Contention within the board can lead to bigger issues in the community, so a team or collaborative mindset is crucial. And communication skills. You must be able to communicate effectively with other board members and owners who are from all walks of life. What does it take to be a board member? We're going to go over the responsibilities, traits, and opportunities for board members in the next section. Thinking about being a board member? Put simply, the owners elect board members to act on their behalf. and the board has authority, powers, and duties in the community. The concept of fiduciary is important if you choose to serve on the board. As an elected or appointed board member, you become a fiduciary. In a fiduciary relationship, one person in a position of vulnerability justifiably vests confidence, good faith, reliance, and trust in another whose aid, advice, or protection is sought in some matter. In such a relation, good conscience requires the fiduciary to act at all times for the sole benefit and interest of the one who trusts. As a board member, you must always act for the sole benefit and in the best interest of the owners and community as a whole. The three pillars of fiduciary duty include duty of care. You must be an active member of the community, knowing what is going on and participating. Duty of loyalty. You must work in the best interests of the community. And duty of obedience. You must follow applicable laws and the governing documents. Traits of a strong board member include strong integrity. This goes back to the concept of fiduciary. You must always act in the best interest of the community. It is important to not let owner criticism affect your decision as long as you always maintain your integrity and make decisions in the best interest of the community as a whole. Strong people skills. You must work effectively with a wide variety of people. There are some people you may need to work with on the board that you would not choose to interact with in your personal life. Working well with everyone in the community is an important trait of a strong board member. A willingness to serve. Serving the community and not yourself. Oftentimes, a board member will need to look past their personal needs or wants and make the decision that is right for the community, even if that decision does not benefit them directly. Calm judgment. Coming to a decision from a place of calm, rational thought is something that is useful in almost every aspect of serving on the board. It is best to use logic and not emotion when making decisions for the community. Being committed to the best interest of the community as a whole. Again, this goes back to the concept of fiduciary. Always think about the macro or large-scale impact of your decisions, as they will affect the entire community and not just some of the owners. And previous volunteer experience. This is not required but can be very helpful. Being able to volunteer your time can sometimes be difficult to manage, so it is good to have previous experience with doing so. Everyone in the community is hoping to maintain or improve the value of their home and quality of life. As a board member, you can take concrete steps to do so. You may be wondering, what will I do as a board member? Some of the wide range of things you will do as a board member include deciding on the amount of assessments. Every year, the board will vote to approve the annual operating budget for the upcoming year. This will include approving the allocations for the various expense and income line items, as well as the overall assessment amount. Making sure that every owner pays their fair share. The board will make the decision to send a unit to the collection attorney if their balance owed reaches a certain amount. This is never an easy decision, but in order to protect the association, it must be done in certain situations. Creating and modifying rules that are in the owner's best interest. The board will vote to add or remove rules, and on occasion will create an entirely new rules document for the association. Approving contracts for desired services. The board will review and potentially approve contracts at almost every meeting. Choosing the right vendor can be difficult. However, your manager will always provide information, feedback, and input to help guide you. educating neighbors on community living. The board may have to make decisions regarding rules violations to help ensure the community members understand and follow the rules. Making sure residents are as safe as possible. The board may make decisions such as changing the locks or access codes, adding signage, or adding security cameras, among other things, to ensure the safety of the community members and residents is maintained. Safety can also relate to maintaining the common areas to avoid things like trip hazards or slippery walkways. Ensuring the curb appeal is the best that can be afforded. Oftentimes, improving the curb appeal is thought to be mostly landscaping related, but this can also include painting balconies, repainting or repairing other areas of the property, among other things. Making decisions to ensure the property is well maintained. This can mean making the decision to pay for maintenance or repair items instead of aesthetic upgrades. Participating in creating budgets and financial plans so funds are available for short and long-term needs. Your manager will work with your board to develop annual budgets and plan for capital projects in order to ensure proper funding is available for projects both in the near and distant future. Setting goals, standards, and policies. The board will be responsible for setting the standards and policies for the community members to follow. The board will also set goals for the community, such as having funds on hand for a project in the next 5 years or increasing community involvement on a landscaping committee. Purchasing adequate insurance. Your manager will present insurance renewals each year and advise you on what is required by law. As a board member, you will approve insurance renewals and any insurance-related purchases and have the opportunity to work with your manager and insurance agent to save on costs or increase coverage as needed. Ensuring that regular, well-run meetings are held. It is imperative that as a board member, you attend as many meetings as possible in order to maintain the continuity of decisions and discussions throughout the year and ensure the meetings are efficient and productive. Encouraging your neighbors to participate in your community. This can mean encouraging neighbors to be involved in committees, projects, or to volunteer for the board. If a community member has a special set of skills that can benefit the community, those skills may be useful in association matters. Serving as an advocate for association members. If an association member reaches out to you about an issue or request, you can advocate to the board and management to address that issue or fulfill that request. Striving for transparency in operations. The community members should be able to review the decisions made by the board in each meeting. This means that accurate meeting minutes should be taken. This may also mean issuing memos or notices related to big decisions. Maintaining financial stability by making sure adequate funding is on hand for both operating expenses and capital expenses. This can mean making difficult decisions about assessment increases or special assessments. Helping neighbors enjoy their homes. This can mean resolving disputes, updating the rules, or resolving issues causing leaks, noises, or even smells. Overseeing a fair annual election. Your manager will facilitate the annual meeting and election process. The board should always ensure the process is fair and accurate. Making sure there is adequate communication so all owners are well informed. Your manager can create and distribute notices. The board will work with the manager and direct them on what should be disseminated to association members throughout the year. Welcoming new owners to the community and making them feel welcome. Oftentimes, board members will welcome new owners in a board meeting and work to help make them feel welcome in their new community. There are 5 key principles that will lead to success if you choose to run for the board. These keys to success include acting in the best interest of the association. This is the concept of fiduciary that was covered earlier. You must always act in the best interest of the community on a macro level, not a micro level. Being responsive to the needs and desires of unit owners. You are there to serve the association. Being responsive lets them know their input is heard and valued. This may mean communicating with your manager, who will communicate with the owners directly. Being familiar with the governing documents and laws that impact your association. Management will support you in this, but you need to know the basics to act in the best interest of the association. Enforcing the governing documents fairly and uniformly. To protect the association from a legal standpoint and to promote harmony. This means that all owners must be treated in the same manner. If a fine is issued to one owner for a violation, the same fine should be issued to another for the same violation or circumstance, regardless of who that owner may be. And setting policies, standards, and procedures for the community association. It makes your job easier to set the policies and procedures up front and makes it easier to treat everyone fairly and work in the best interest of the association. Laying down the blueprint for the association will help maintain continuity and keep the board and community on the right track. Part of becoming a good board member will come from trial and error. You will reduce the errors and learning time by asking questions of other board members, your community manager, and experts hired to help your board manage your association. Having an attorney on retainer can be beneficial if your association has high legal expenses. Even if your association does not have an attorney on retainer, you will likely seek out legal advice from an attorney on various association matters. An accountant will help complete tax returns and provide other advice on annual expense and income allocations. A banker may assist in financial planning and the loan process if your association chooses to take out a loan to fund a capital project. A reserve study provider will analyze the current condition of property components and recommend long-term funding, reserve contribution allocations, and provide a timeline of capital expenditures, among other things. An architect or engineer will advise on significant building repairs and improvements. Your association may hire these experts to investigate water infiltration, write the scope of work for a project, or even manage a project. And other experts as the need arises in order to receive sound professional advice in order to benefit your association. This could be the advice of a painting contractor for an exterior railing painting project, or from a roofer to guide the board on which type of roofing system to install. You will work closely with your community manager, who will support and carry out the goals of the board and offer advice. FCM has a team of employees working for each association. The community manager, assistant community manager, accounting staff, and administrative support staff all work together to support the board. Board support from FCM includes the website, condomanagement.com. There are various tools available for owners and board members on the website. As a board member, you can review financial documents, violations, and work orders, among many other things. The monthly financial statement gives a clear picture of the association's financial position. This allows you to know where to focus the association's energy. The monthly financials will include the balance sheet, income statements, cash disbursements, aging reports, bank account reconciliations, bank statements, check copies, and open work orders. All of these reports will help to better inform you as a board member, so it is important to review them each month. The 22.1 disclosure helps the association in providing the information they are legally obligated to provide in the sales or refinancing process. The 22.1 disclosure is used for refinances and sales and discloses things that a potential buyer or lender would like to know. This is approved by the board at every meeting. The board packet gives you all the information you need to run an efficient and productive board meeting and make decisions that will help your community. Board packets will include vendor proposals, the management report, and management plan, among other documents. The management plan ensures all regular association items are completed in a timely manner each year and provides a transparent scheduling document for the manager to follow, which the board can alter as they see fit. And the management report helps the board to understand the most important things going on at the association to fulfill their fiduciary duty, such as significant budget variances, collection statuses, and contract expirations, to name a few. The management report is presented by the manager at every meeting and helps the manager both inform and guide the board on various items. In order to help explain what it is like to be a board member, we surveyed experienced current board members and created the graphs you will see in the upcoming slides. We had a significant response with approximately 140 board members responding. We conducted this survey in preparation for this presentation, and we are really excited to have gotten a significant amount of board responses. Because the data set for the graphs in these next slides is so large, we think this is very meaningful data that represents the wide range of communities that we manage. How many board meetings have you typically attended each year as a board member? The majority of associations have just 4 quarterly meetings. Some associations find that in some years, they need an additional brief meeting or 2 to take care of an urgent agenda item. What is the typical length of your association's board meetings? We want our meetings to be long enough to be productive and take care of the association business at hand, but to not take up too much of anyone's time. 1 to 2 hours, depending on the size of the association and the current agenda, typically works well. How much time do you typically spend preparing for your association's board meetings? We ask our board members to read their board packet ahead of each meeting and ask any questions this brings up ahead of the meeting in order to ensure an efficient and productive meeting. Doing so typically takes less than 1 hour, not usually more than 2. Of course, this is dependent on the size of the meeting and number and complexity of the agenda items. How much time per month do you typically spend on your board member responsibilities? This includes going to meetings, reviewing board packets, reviewing monthly financials, fielding in-person owner concerns, and talking with a community manager via phone or email. The majority of board members surveyed indicated they spent between 1 to 2 hours per month on their board member responsibilities. Had you attended more than 2 board meetings as an owner before running for the board? As you can see, 75% of surveyed board members had attended more than 2 board meetings before running for the board. It is very helpful when a new board member is already aware of everything going on in the association because they have attended previous meetings. What was your most important reason for choosing to become a board member for your association? The most common response from the board members we surveyed was that they joined the board to do their part for the association. Almost 35% indicated they wanted to improve the way their association was managed, and only about 5% indicated that they wanted to keep the assessment at an affordable level. Do you find being a board member for your association a rewarding experience? The majority of board members that we surveyed indicated that being a board member is a rewarding experience only some of the time. It is important to know that serving on the board can be difficult at times, and you may not always love it or be loved for it. However, it can also be a very rewarding experience that can add value to your community and your life. Will you run again for the board after your current term has expired? To solidify that point, the majority of board member responses to this question was yes. This shows that being a board member can be a very rewarding experience, and board members typically do stay on the board for multiple terms. Is this the right time? Should you run for the board? What if I don't run? Your association will likely elect somebody else. If no one else is running, your board may appoint a unit owner from the floor to fill that open board seat. An inappropriate board member. Typically, board members are great and work in the best interest of the association. Sometimes, an inappropriate board member is elected, which has a negative effect on the community. Traits of an inappropriate board member include inability to put the welfare of the community first, working behind the board to run things their way, being impulsive or quick-tempered, abusing their power, having a conflict of interest, having a personal or hidden agenda, putting individual interests first, having poor interpersonal skills, acting out on grudges against their neighbors, being unable to work with others for the common good, being dishonest, having little or no experience in management, leadership, or service, or disclosing confidential information. It is easy to see why these would not work in the best interest of the association and do not fit with the concept of fiduciary. What if no one will serve as a board member? Most attorneys suggest there are two alternatives: deconversion or receivership. Deconversion is where your association ceases to be a condominium by a vote of ownership. This can be very difficult because most owners must vote in favor, and not voting is a vote against. Receivership is the other option, where a court will appoint an individual to run the property. This is very expensive because the receiver must be paid by the association. As you can see, it is in the best interest of the community to have owners willing to serve on the board. If I choose not to run, can I still help? There are many ways to contribute to the success of your association if you choose not to run for your board. Doing your part as an owner. When owners know and follow the rules, it makes it easier on the board. So reading and complying with the governing documents is very helpful. Attending association meetings. Participation in meetings helps the board know what is important to unit owners. It also helps them to feel their service on the board is valued and seen. Vote in community elections and other opportunities. Just as in political elections, this ensures the community that the board is made up of members that are working towards their goals. Reviewing the draft budget. The budget has an impact on all owners. You should know where your assessment money will go and how the board came to these sometimes difficult decisions. Treat association leaders honestly and with respect. They are volunteers and your neighbors and friends. They are doing their best to work in the best interests of all owners and improve the community. And stay informed about community matters. Make sure you know what is going on. Whether as a volunteer board member or just an active community member, your association needs you. Strong board members with good interpersonal skills, a strong sense of the fiduciary duty, and a desire to improve and protect the association as a whole are a necessary part of every community association. If you are willing to serve, you'll find that FCM supports you with the knowledge you need The role isn't as time-consuming as it looks, and you may find it very rewarding. Before we move into the Q&A portion of the webinar, I wanted to let you know that you will receive a request to take a brief survey regarding this presentation. We greatly appreciate your honest feedback and input on this presentation and potential future presentations that we may offer, and it will only take a few minutes of your time. We will now move into the Q&A portion of the webinar. I will read and answer each question submitted throughout the presentation. Please feel free to submit more questions at this time while I review and answer the questions submitted so far with the help of my colleague, Rich. First question here from Jeff, how many members are on the board? That's a great question. It really depends on your association. Some associations have 3-person boards, some have 5, and some even have up to 7. So you may want to check with your community association manager on how many seats are available for your community. Next question here from Cindy. What liability do I have as a board member? That's a great question, Cindy. Thank you for submitting it. As a board member, you have what's called a D&O insurance policy for the association, as well as a fidelity bond. These liability insurance policies protect the board from liability. And so as a board member, you are protected.
And just, this is Rich, just to follow up on that as well, the association is a corporation. So you as a board member are not personally liable. And that's why, again, following good business practice, the advice of experts and, just the guidance of your manager and attorney the association works with is kind of the best practice there to ensure that you're doing your fiduciary duty to the association.
Thank you very much, Rich. Well put. Moving on to the next question here from Peter. How long is a term on the board? Again, great question. This does depend on your association's governing documents. Typically, a standard term for a board member is 2 years, but it could be 1 year as well. Some associations are different. So again, you may want to check with your community manager about how your community association has that listed in their declaration. Next question here from Mary. How do I go about getting on the board or running for a position? That all begins with the annual meeting notice process. The initial first meeting notice for an annual meeting will be the call for candidates notice. And this notice will have a form you can fill out as a candidate for the board, and that will be sent out to everybody, and you can get your name on the ballot. Another way is in the meeting, if you appoint yourself or somebody appoints you from the floor, you can then be, on the vote as well to be on the board. Next question here from Leah. During the pandemic, are all meetings on Zoom? It really depends on your association, but at this point in time, most meetings, all meetings are going to be remote.
And we are recommending, currently First Community's position is that all our managers are attending meetings virtually or remotely. We do leave that to the discretion of the board if they do choose to meet in person. The goal is obviously to provide as safe of an opportunity for all board members and owners to participate. And so the good thing is that, we do have the ability and access to meet electronically or by phone. And so that's something to work with your community manager on finding the best solution for your association.
Thank you again, Rich. Well put, and great question from Leah. These are all really great questions. Thank you for submitting them. Next question here from Matt. How often do we vote for board elections? Typically, board elections are held once per year at the annual meeting, which is always once per year. This year, the annual election for your association might be put off or delayed because of the pandemic, but typically it's once per year. Next question here from Aaron. When are elections and what does a typical run consist of? Elections can be held at different times for your association. Typically, the annual meeting is either in the third or fourth quarter of the year, so either in the third or fourth meeting of the year as well. What does a typical run consist of? Well, you'll be filling out a candidate form and attending the board meeting if you can. And then if you get appointed to the board, you might want to say a few words in the meeting, but there's not a whole lot involved in that process.
Yeah, and that's going to vary from one association to the next. It also depends on how your voting process works, whether that's through proxy or through balloting. So, if it's a proxy system and you're really interested in joining, you can, speak with your neighbors prior to the meeting and have them assign their proxy if they're not able to attend in person. So you can make sure there are votes for you. If not, some associations hold candidate forums. Some just have opportunities for the candidates to speak at the meeting. And our hope is that with doing these presentations, we'll have more people interested and more competitive elections, because quite often we'll see there's, we're trying to really encourage people to run at the meeting. And we really hope and we're really happy with the response that we've seen people attending these webinars, that we're going to have good competitive elections in our next cycle.
Thank you very much, Rich. I'm moving on here to the next question from Nancy. Is it a disadvantage to be a board member and not live in the building? That's a really good question. I've seen very successful board members not live in the building, board presidents, all kinds of board members be very successful in their role, not living in the building. But I think it is helpful if you do live in the building to better understand the community needs. Moving on here to the next question. My question was skipped. Is it not possible to get a copy of this presentation? We will be sending out a copy of this presentation actually and posting it on the FCM YouTube page as well.
Yeah, sorry, Lauren, it just, you were the first question and it seemed to just skip by you. So yeah, this will be posted both to YouTube. It will also be posted to First Community's website, and we will be sending around everyone a PDF version, as well as an invite to a survey we're doing to get your feedback on this presentation and ideas for future presentations.
Moving on here to the next question from Nancy. What if the current board refuses to meet on Zoom? Well, there are a couple different options. There can be a conference call. If they refuse to meet remotely, it really is up to your board on when those meetings are held. Next question here from Julia. Are all of the board members equal? Yes, in the sense that every board member has the same weighted vote on association matters. There are officer positions that are elected each year, and so the board president, treasurer, secretary, and those officer positions have different roles in the community. But yes, the answer is all board members have an equal vote.
And that is also when you're running for the board, you run just to join the board of directors. So the election that's held by the owners is for the members of the board. And then the board amongst themselves elect those officer positions, which may have different responsibilities. But like John said, the vote is all equal.
Next question here from Nancy. Are there 2 or 5 year priority plans made by the board members? And if so, how do they keep to the plan priorities when new board members are voted in? Can they change the plans? Yes, so new board members can change the plans. Previous board members can do their best to maintain continuity for 5, 10-year plans that they have thought of and what they would like. But ultimately, it is up to the current board on how to handle situations. So, maintaining continuity, a good thing to think about there is when there's transition in between board members, to have conversations with those transitioning board members to understand why they did certain things and maybe understand what they want to have done in the next 5 or 10 years. Really great questions here. Moving on to the next one from Philip Shaw. What can be done when the association documents prohibit non-resident owners from running for the board when the State Condo Act states that all owners are of the same class?
And I would think that this would be a matter to, review with the board and the association's attorney. There is a hierarchy of legal documents that govern the association, and the Illinois Condo Property Act, if you are a condo association, is would supersede any rule or declaration for your association. So, that would be a matter that to again, review with the association's attorney. But it basically goes the U.S. Constitution down, and your rules are, and then below your rules are board resolutions. So it is just making sure that if there's a document above that provides a right, it can't then be removed by another.
Thank you, Rich. Next question here from Barbara. Are you finding attendance to be higher at the Zoom meetings now than were meetings prior to the pandemic? That's a great question. I can only answer for the meetings I have held personally. But yes, I do see a little bit higher turnout, especially at the meetings where we had almost no owners attending. It's easier, for people to call in.
Yeah, and I would agree that we've definitely seen better attendance, and we do see that there's a possibility. Obviously, we all hope to be out of this pandemic sooner rather than later, but I think this has opened up, kind of the perspective that this may be a valuable tool for all of our associations even into the future.
Next question here from Tony. Is there a central location that we can reference for board members or news about the association? So you can actually look up things on our website, but as far as board members, you can reach out to understand who is on the board. You can reach out to your community manager. Some associations actually list that in the lobby postings or other areas as well.
And then the other main tool of kind of association business that should always be kept are the minutes. Minutes for each meeting are going to be approved at the following board meeting, at which point they're typically posted to our website at condomanagement.com for your association, or if there's a central location, or if your association has their own website. That's going to be the best record for kind of that action of the association if you're not able to attend the meeting. Other associations do have newsletters or information that's distributed in other ways, and that's just going to be association by association.
Thank you, Rich. Next question here from Nancy. Can FCM step in when owners are significantly behind in paying their monthly dues? So this is a board decision typically as far as sending a unit owner to the collections attorney or proceeding with collection manners for delinquencies. And some associations actually have resolutions that ask the manager or management company to send someone to collections after a certain time frame or amount, so a certain trigger. But this is really a board decision, not an FCM one.
And we do have a standard process. We do distribute basically a 15-day notice if someone misses their first payment, a 45-day if they miss a second, stating that the account, if not brought current, may be sent to the association's attorney. And then again, we do recommend that, all our boards do consider a resolution that in most situations, we do recommend kind of that hard deadline so that everything's treated equally, because we don't want someone to necessarily play favoritism or perceived favoritism. So working with your board to make sure that there is a collection policy in place, and First Community's policy does follow clear with that. But if it's a delinquent account excessively, then working with the association's collections attorney is the best course forward. I did just want to also note, I think that's the last of our questions. Philip, I know you had submitted a question about having an issue with registering. We'll follow up separately on that, but just wanted to let you know that we did see that question. And thank you for the other people who've provided feedback in the Q&A as well. We do appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rich, for your help there. And thank you, everybody, for your questions. It is very helpful, and we do appreciate it. So thank you so much, everybody, for attending this webinar. I hope this presentation will help increase your interest in serving on the board and your understanding of what that role requires. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.